Hi everyone! Welcome to my next hiking video. Today I'm going to have fun talking about what it's really like to be almost 70 years old. Because I can't believe it. I'll be 70 next month, December. And it's not such a great sunny day, but that's the way it goes up here in Maine. It's not snowing yet, but it's going to pretty darn soon. And some of these trails will be closed in the winter. But I'm going to keep going out here through the ones that are open. And put on my coat and my boots and put a coat on Mags. And Sheppy might need a coat. I'm not sure yet. So I'm going to turn this around and take you along on this hike. It does lead to the beach. It all depends if Maggie wants to keep walking or not, if we go that far. But I'm going to tell you some fun things about what I've learned about growing old and being almost 70 years old. Now, this is just me. Many of you may be very different. But I have found a lot of really stunning facts about growing old that I never ever expected. So here we go. And I did bring my notes that, because I have so much that I want to say, I was afraid I might forget. Now, when I was little, and maybe we all think this way when we're kids, and I used to think elderly people, that I would never be like that. I used to see them as peculiar because I didn't understand how anybody truly could be so old. And I guess I had this notion that I would never be, and maybe all children feel that way. I'm not sure. But in any event, I had this notion that, gosh, old meant falling apart. It meant, which it does a lot of times, losing our health and being forgetful and being dependent. And of course, that could very well be true for me in the future. But I'm talking about now and being almost 70 because I never thought that this would be such a great time in my life and I would be having so much fun. And it almost angers me to think, why couldn't I have had this much fun when I was younger? And I actually mentioned this to a friend a little while ago, and I guess it was because it wasn't my time to be this happy. I had to experience all the things in my younger years in order to reach this level of appreciation, because honestly, that's the best part, I believe, of achieving 70 years on this planet, is learning the true value of what appreciation really is. Now here's some fun things about myself being this old. Technology escapes me. I do enjoy using it, obviously, for my YouTube channel and for my writing my books and all of that. But I only use what I need, and I'm really not interested in anything AI related or anything like that. And I just want to learn what I need, and that's it. Now, I have a Dell laptop that I bought over 10 years ago. It might have even been 12 years ago. And I've written all of my books on it. However, oh gosh, it takes forever to load. And I certainly have the money to buy a new one, but I don't want a new one because I've had this laptop for so dang long. I'm familiar with it, and it's kind of like, I don't know, when you're familiar with something, you don't want to throw it away. It still works. It's just really slow. So while it's loading, I either wash the dishes or get some firewood or work on my braided rug, feed the dogs, and it's still usable, but I've adapted because I'm slower. It's slower too. And it's funny because I learned that I don't need to be in a hurry at all anymore. And I spent so many years being in a hurry. And that's another thing about being retired. I badly handled my finances years ago. But the funny thing is, it doesn't matter now, because I live way below my means, and I'm doing just fine with what I have. And all the things I used to have, I really didn't want anyway. And it's pretty amazing to look back on all the things I thought were so dang important. Maggie, come on. And they weren't at all. And it's kind of like being almost 70 is kind of like following this path for years uphill and learning things as you go, experiencing things as you go, sometimes tripping, sometimes falling down, sometimes getting hurt. But when you make it to almost 70, it's kind of like, wow, I like the view up here. This is cool. I learned all this stuff. And now I can appreciate so much more than I ever have. And now I'm going to talk about physical limitations. And again, many of you may be dealing with them. I was always very athletic growing up. Extremely athletic, actually. Running. Always had to be outside. Got really bored very quickly if I had to spend a long period of time inside anywhere. Had horses, went running with whatever dogs I had at the time, swimming, anything, just to be outside in the fresh air. And I think, well, I'm quite sure that has a lot to do with why I'm so still strong today. And I never really had any role models for that because my grandparents were very sedentary. And I remember visiting my grandparents, and they would just sit around and talk in the living room, sip their tea in the kitchen. And I don't remember my grandmother or my grandfather ever even taking me on a hike. And I'm sure their health suffered because of that. But I always felt that I had to just leave their house during the visits and just go run around the block or do something. I just had to be active. Now here's the funny thing. 10 years ago, laying in bed, of all places, I suddenly experienced an enormously sharp pain running down my leg. I think it was my left leg. Like a huge leg cramp. If you've ever had one of those, you know what I'm talking about. And of all places, to suddenly be in pain, because I'd been taking care of my horses, I'd been still running, very, very active lifestyle. And to be laying in bed and suddenly be in pain was shocking. Well, I didn't see a doctor for about a good 10 months after that. Between Tylenol and pain medicine, I kept going. And turns out I had a cyst pressing on my spinal cord. And of course, it was causing the pain down my leg. Well, it was a quick procedure. They got rid of it. But the physician told me, now, Barbara, stop lifting heavy items. You can't be doing that to your back. This thing's going to come back and it's going to bother you. Well, I had 3 horses and 5 dogs. And I lived on 12 acres in New Hampshire. And I sure as heck wasn't going to slow down. So I said, thank you very much. And I went home. Well, this is true. About 2 years later, I felt the same pain in my leg, and I knew the damn thing had come back. So I went back, they did another MRI, and they said, yep, we told you so. It's back. You're going to have this surgery again. Well, I went home, and I stood out one night under the stars, and I prayed. And I said, please, God, make this thing go away. I have too much to do in my life. I have no one to care for my horses. I don't want to slow down. Please help me. So I went to bed, and the next morning, I got out of bed, went into the kitchen, and I was making my coffee, and I thought, wait a minute, I'm not in pain anymore. I feel great. I wonder what happened. So I called the hospital, and I said, I don't think I need surgery. I feel great. And they said, well, come on in for another MRI. We'll check you out. And lo and behold, that cyst that had showed up 2 weeks prior was completely gone. And here's what kind of made me angry. I told them about my prayer, and they didn't believe me. They said, well, this is like, we call it a spontaneous remission. We don't see it very often, but sometimes we do. But don't, slow down. Don't work hard. Now here I am lifting 30-pound bales of hay out in the hayfield into my pickup, coming home and lifting them again to stack them in my barn. And I love doing that. And I sure as heck wasn't going to slow down. And that was 10 years ago, and now I'm fine. I've been fine ever since. And I'm not going to slow down, no matter what the doctors tell me. Because I wonder if I did become sedentary, my body might start shutting down. And I think the best thing that I have been doing was to continue being active. And I think my biggest complaint is the arthritis in my back. And someone gave me a really great tip the other day, which I very much appreciate. I guess there's a back brace you can put on when you're lifting items like my firewood. And thank you very much, because I'm going to get one. But other than that, I have no health issues at all. And honestly, when I was younger, I never thought that 70 years old would feel so great. Now, it's not such a physical sense, but it's a spiritual sense also of having achieved this age. Because I have so grown in years to be able to really comprehend the power of spirituality and how I fit in this grand scheme of things. And how 70 years has all evolved into where I am today. And I'm curious if any of you feel that way. And I also know that having a positive mindset is a tremendous attribute to have as I age. Now, yes, people are going to chime in and say, well, nothing's happened to you yet. This might happen, that might happen. Well, of course it might. And I've had things happen before when I've been ill, and I've gotten through it. And one time, I fell on one step. It was just one stupid step, and I hurt my leg, and I got better. I just rested. I didn't run to the doctor. And speaking of doctors, there is a medical facility nearby, and I do have a physician. However, I don't go for every little thing. I carefully evaluate whatever is going on, and I know that if it doesn't resolve within a reasonable amount of time, of course I have the option to go to the doctor, and Medicare would probably pay for most of it. But I don't look at every little thing as a concern, and I'm very fortunate that way. Now, Another thing about retirement, and I'll talk again about money, because yes, I do have Social Security because I worked for many years, and I do have a pension, although it's not very much. But because I live off-grid out here, and I live below my means, it's all I need. And I don't understand why people believe that they need a vast amount of money to retire. And I wonder if it's because either they live in a more expensive environment, or they want to travel, and they want to spend money doing that. And that's all fine and good. But when you're happy with where you are, such as I am, I don't plan on traveling anymore. I plan on saving my money for my farm and following my dream, doing that. And so you can certainly be very happy as a senior and not be wealthy. And that is, to follow your dream is much more meaningful than having the money in the bank, hands down. Now, the funny thing is, another thing about being 70 is all the things that I used to think were important, I look back and I think, oh my gosh, those things weren't important at all. All those material possessions, all the nice dresses I had. I was so worried about my appearance, and of course I had to then, because I worked in an office and I had to look professional. But that wasn't me. And I think also, as we age, for me anyway, I'm not concerned so much about my appearance anymore. I'm comfortable in my jeans and my t-shirts. And if someone doesn't like the way I look, I don't care, because I'm comfortable and I'm happy. And I don't even wear earrings anymore. That's funny, I recently realized that. I don't wear jewelry. And it's just something I don't need and I don't value. And that's just me. I'm also really, really thankful for what I have. And when I was younger, I wasn't. I thought I always had to be doing more. Faster, better, smarter, wiser, more efficient. Sounds like a machine, doesn't it? Well, that's how I lived. And that's how many young people live today. And it's sad, because that's what they're being forced to do to survive. And I don't know where this world is going. But what a tragedy to live like a machine. And being retired, I now have the option to no longer do that. And I consider myself extremely, extremely fortunate. And sure, one day I'll be doing a video and I'll have a health issue. Of course I will. Maybe I won't, but maybe I will. But the thing is, my mindset will be the same. Because whatever it is, I'll handle it. This is a pretty rock. I like how they did the stairs right in front of the rock. That's really cool. I'll handle it, and I'll deal with it. And the way I look at growing old is, Chevy, don't do that. The way I look at growing old moving forward is, I'm just going to keep doing whatever I can. Simple as that. And what I can't do, I won't do. But maybe the things I won't be able to do won't be that important anymore. I used to run like the wind for miles. And now I just walk. I'm not in a hurry. I still get where I'm going. And I appreciate what's along the way. Whereas before, I did not. And I'm also very curious to see what my hair will look like when it turns white. I know that sounds really funny. It's starting to, just a little bit, in a few places. But yeah, I'm curious what I'll look like as I get older. And so I'd love to hear from you and what you feel about aging and how you deal with aches and pains and how you think about the things that you can no longer do and how you have changed your life because of your age. And I understand that there are many, many seniors not as fortunate as me, not having the benefits financially that I do. And that is tragic because when you're collecting Social Security, it is what it is. The amount will never increase except for the pitiful yearly cost of living, which never really is helpful at all. But now with YouTube, I'm doing even better, and hopefully other seniors will start a channel and take the opportunity to share their wisdom and their life and experiences. So thank you all. I appreciate every single one of you. I appreciate my subscribers, your comments, your thoughts. Even if you disagree, I love it. So I hope you're all having a great day. Do something fun. Do something really, really good for yourself. And enjoy your day. Thank you, everyone.